everyone, welcome to this week's video. This week I'm going to be talking about how I managed to dye my own hair at home in lockdown blue from natural brown virgin hair. So the first thing I wanted to say before we get into the video and how I show you how I did it, I wanted to say that obviously I'm not a trained professional hairdresser, and it took a while and it took a lot of patience, so I definitely recommend, if you are wanting to dye your own hair, definitely do as much research as you can, whether that's watching other videos or I definitely recommend Brad Mondo, because that's what I've been watching constantly leading up to dyeing my own hair. But have a look at different brands and different types of hair dye for your hair type, and if you need to do anything to prep your hair first, because it's definitely a long process, and especially if you're doing it yourself on your own, just be careful. And my best advice is be patient leading up to dyeing your hair, and just take your time, but I definitely recommend doing it if you've got the time at the moment. So the first thing I did when I wanted to lighten my hair from brown to a light blonde, because that's what I needed to get a nice bright colour, I wanted to go for pastel blue, but this is what I ended up going for because my hair wasn't light enough. So the first thing I used was this L'Oreal Preference hair dye, and you can see it's really light, and this is the 11.11 Venice shade. So from the colours on the back you can see that it is a very lifting hair colour. So I went for this because I've actually used this before, I think on my sister's hair, and it worked really well. I used 3 boxes of this, and I'll play the clip so you can see how it came out. It definitely lifted my hair, but it was very sort of orangey and not very light still. I followed the directions and I left it on for quite a long time. I think 45-50 minutes is when I noticed that the colour wasn't really lifting as much as I wanted it to. However, it says it's really nourishing, and it's got all these oils in that you add to the mix, but out of all the things I used in this whole process, this was the most drying thing ever to my hair. So my hair was practically all virgin except for a little bit of blonde on the ends from a while ago, but this was really drying for me. I put the whole tube of conditioner on my hair afterwards, like a hair mask, and it was still really dry. So I knew that I had to do something a bit more after I used this to lighten my hair even more. So I did my research, I watched a few videos beforehand before I bought anything, but I found that a lot of people were using this same box to lighten their hair, and it was really good and it was really nourishing. So I decided to get, again, 3 boxes of that. So it's this Garnier Olia bleach dye. So this is permanent bleach, and it's got no ammonia, so it's supposed to be a bit more, it's not supposed to be as strong, especially if you're dyeing your own hair at home. It can be quite, some bleach can be quite strong smelling. So this says it lifts up to 8 tones. And again, the white sort of hair on the front made me think this is the right sort of road to go down. And you can see on the back, it looks like it's gonna lift my hair. Sort of, my hair was between these 2 shades at this stage, so I was expecting it to come out quite light. The other thing that I liked about this is it had a bleaching powder and a bleaching cream, so I knew that it was gonna lift my hair substantially, like a few shades. So This was really easy to apply, and it was quite runny. It was like yogurt, I'd say, is the texture. So it was really easy to apply and really get into all my hair and blend all the way through. So I washed that out. I actually decided to go back and do that twice because the first time I dyed my hair with the L'Oreal Preference, it hadn't really lifted my hair the way I wanted it to. It had damaged it, so I waited a few days before I did this Olia bleach. But after doing the first bit of Olia, it was still quite orangey yellow. It was definitely a lot lighter, which was great. But I went over it again with 3 more boxes of Olia to just lift it as much as I could before I put the blue on. A lot of people recommend that you have white hair or as light blonde as you can possibly get before you dye any sort of colour. Especially like pastel colours, which is what I was originally going for. So I knew that the lighter I could get it, the better. But after the second round of bleach, my hair was still quite yellow, so I was worried about me putting light blue dye on and it turning green. So as you can see, my hair isn't completely blue. It still does have sort of greeny tones to it, which is a bit interesting. I didn't particularly want it to come out like this, but I'm happy with it sort of looking like it's got different tones to it. So that's why I did two lots, because I didn't want my hair to be green. So the next stage for me was to look at different hair colours, and I knew from the beginning that I did want a blue. I did think about purple and pink, but because I am quite pink skin toned, I didn't really want to go for a pink. I like the idea of like a dark purple, because purple's always been my favourite colour. But I still like the idea of blue because I've got blue eyes and I thought it might complement my skin. So I found this dye, which is the Live Ultra Bright Semi-Permanent Pretty Pastels. It's this light bluey shade at the top. And then again you can see the transfer of colour depending on what sort of base you start with there. So I knew I had to get really light hair to get sort of pastel-y colour. So I got 2 boxes of this because it says if you have thick hair or long hair you should have 2 boxes. However, I did the front section of my hair with 2 boxes of this and I ran out straight away. I'd need about 6 boxes of this to do my whole hair because my hair is naturally very thick. However, I think they should make it more clear somehow, or do bigger boxes with bigger tubes inside, because it's really thick pasty dye and it's really hard to get onto your hair and really blend it through. So you'll see, before I start applying this dye, you'll see a clip of me with mainly blondie yellow hair, but I've got sort of streaks of greeny blue around the front. It's because I didn't want to show you the process of me applying this dye because I think it is, I don't want to say useless because it might be good for some people, but it did not work for me and the instructions weren't very clear. I should have used a lot more of it, and it told me to use 2 boxes, so that's what I did. So then I did a bit more research on trying to get light blue hair dye and maybe mixing a couple of colours, and I saw a lot of people using Manic Panic, which I think is an American brand, I'm not sure, but they come in these pots and they're really vibrant colours, but I couldn't find a light enough blue for what I wanted. So I went through Amazon, I went through Boots, Arctic Fox I know do really nice hair dyes, but I noticed that unless you have really light white hair or you already have pre-coloured hair in the same sort of colour, Arctic Fox wouldn't give me that vibrant colour with the base I had. I think they're really good hair dye and I've used them before, my sister's used them before, but unless you have light enough hair, it's not really going to give you that bright colour, it's going to give you sort of a toned down version. What I ended up noticing was a lot of people were mixing conditioner in with their hair dye, and to begin with I thought it was just to maybe protect your hair and sort of give you more of a nourishing sort of even dye instead of pasting on this really thick hair dye that came out really blotchy. So I thought I'm going to do a bit more research into this, and it turns out it's good for mixing into your colour and making more of it. But for me it was mainly just, it was so much easier to blend out and brush into my hair. So that's why I'm happy with how it's come out, because it is really even. The only thing that I wish I'd done differently is kept an eye on when I was washing out each layer, because you're not supposed to leave on colours like this for very long compared to like bleaching where you're supposed to leave it on for like 45 minutes. I left mine on for about 20 minutes before I washed out a layer. So I did the bottom layer, and then as I was applying the second layer I sort of pinned it up and then washed the bottom out so that it wasn't drying my hair out too much, but also I didn't want one layer to be a different colour to the next. So all in all it was a very lengthy process. It took me 6 sort of sessions, if you like, and that includes the first sort of lightening session, 2 rounds of bleach, the pastel blue, the first application of the live electric blue, and then I also sort of went over it again because this midsection wasn't as pigmented as the ends, so I went through that again. So that's 6 sessions, about 2 or 3 days apart each time, so it has taken me a while. I must say as well, it's not the cheapest process if you don't get it right the first time, so I've bought a lot of box dyes that have been about £6 or £7 each, and because of the way my hair is and how thick it is, I've needed more. So I definitely just take a minute and know what you want to do, watch as many videos as you can. If you've got a hairdresser, maybe give them a call, or if you know of a friend who's dyed their hair before, let them know that you're thinking about doing the same thing and try and get some advice off there. I definitely say if you've got someone that lives with you that could give you a hand, especially around the back areas of your hair that you can't quite see in a mirror, try and get someone to help you as well. But other than that, I'm really happy with the result. This is an 8 washes dye, so it's going to last me I think about a month at the moment, and then it will fade, and I don't think I'm going to maintain it. Obviously at the moment I don't know when I'm going back to work, so that's something I've got to keep an eye on because I can't go back to work with this colour hair. But my plan is to just dye over it like a darker brown, back to my sort of natural colour. But other than that, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope it's given you a bit of an insight to how I got to this end result. I'm really happy with it, and I'm thinking about maybe doing a different colour in the future. whilst we're still in a lockdown, maybe a dark purple, but we'll see. If you want to keep in touch with me and what I'm getting up to, and if I change my hair colour again, do subscribe to this channel, give me a like and comment down below if there's anything you want to see in the future, or if you've dyed your hair recently, what colour have you gone? And hopefully I'll see you again next week. Thanks for watching.